stop us from, having a religious war is crazy. So,
Just yet another opportunity for Kevin to throw into the conversation. He's from Ireland. Change the bloody record, Kevo.
yeah, you know what? If you, I think you just wait until I say something and then decide that's whenever you're going to go live because
Obviously.
sweet
I
Kevin,
mean, I'm surprised it took you this long to cotton
Screw
on to
the
that, to
fact
be
that
honest.
he's been like actually incredibly selling like this very whatever. He's been very interesting, and you waited until the last second to go
yeah,
live.
you waited till the last second to when I was not interested.
It's
I
like
mean,
No, that's
reality
not what I
TV.
meant. I meant if it had been me, I would have started live a bit ago just to catch that.
well, I mean, it's a fair point. That's all. That's all I'm saying is it's just life is all about perspective, and I seem to have it. Sometimes whenever it's coming to certain things, that's all. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means that from the standpoint of a lot of different things, uh, you know, I get what depresses me is the fact that I've lived I've lived around people for too long. I really do think that me living, if I could be like Luke Skywalker and living on that island in the middle of the ocean in Ireland, I would be happy. Skellig Michael, it's called.
Righty dokie. Well, it's like reality TV, Nikki. I have to cut out all the bits that make the subject seem interesting or intelligent in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
Richard
that's
J.
fair. That's
Allen's
fair.
version of Love Island, and he has to cut out the part where Richard and I were were snuggling, under the blankets, right? Because he
I
doesn't.
don't know, Kevin. I mean, like, given the caliber of the other two, I think you're the best pick. So,
Wow.
Savage.
Well, I might have bigger titties.
Savage! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we discuss subjects with the petty and ill-informed opinion. Joining me, as always, from the sunny Emerald Isle, Kevin.
Is that where I'm from? Fucking A.
Yeah, I mean, you tell everyone at every
Yeah,
opportunity.
I wear a T-shirt that says I'm from Ireland on it. You fuckers.
From the deep south of England, Tom.
Yep, certainly here this week.
And from the deep south of America, Nikki.
Hey.
Over the past few weeks, I have received several perverted messages from various viewers telling me how sexy Nikki's new picture is. Well, let me tell you, that is a lot of makeup and a lot of Snapchat filters.
That is not a Snapchat filter, but it is a lot of makeup. Not
No,
gonna
I
lie.
hate to break that bubble for you. So tonight we will be discussing the case of Joel Guy Jr. After a bit of banter between the co-hosts, as always, I will turn over to Kevin to see what's on your mind. Kevin, what's going on?
Okay, well, first of all, who are we discussing tonight? Cole John Jr.?
Joel Guy Jr.
Joel Guy
The
Jr.
second stupidest criminal I've ever seen.
Oh, I? Really?
Oh, I.
Okay.
For real.
Oh yeah, he's pretty stupid.
All right. Well, no, this week's been kind of a full week, isn't it? I mean, from a lot of different standpoints, lots of stuff going on, and I don't know if it's good or not, but the world is definitely still in flux. I'll just say that, isn't it? It's in flux.
In flux.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you wanted. I mean, if you don't talk about, politics are one thing, and all these other things, inflation and all those, but that's a worldwide problem, and nobody needs to be reminded of the fact that it's expensive, right?
Right.
But that's cap. Oh, let me just say that's capitalism in a nutshell. So if you love capitalism, this last week was your week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, nobody's coming back at me and saying,
No.
I don't think anyone who loves capitalism will even admit to it. It's the
Well,
least
here,
worst form of economic organisation, not the
it,
best.
and you mentioned things being expensive, and I just immediately went to my utilities this month was $485.
Right. For a
And
month
so, oh yeah, 1 month.
because of your air conditioning.
It's yeah, and it's like yeah, it's the air conditioning.
Well, America is going through like a major.
Economic meltdown.
Well,
It's not just America. It cost me 80 quid to fill up my gas tank.
yeah.
Yeah, you guys are getting bent over too.
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
80 quid.
it's
Back when I was a kid, you could fill your gas tank and
Uh,
buy a house with that much money.
well, in the north you could.
When I first
Yes.
learned to drive, I remember to fill it was about 69p a litre, I think, and it's just gone over £2, so it's gone up by about 3 times what it was.
And it's not
Uh,
costing more to extract the oil from the ground or process it.
no,
How much of this is Tory austerity?
no, it's well. I can tell you what it is. It's complete fact that some people are making. I mean, this is. I'm not joking yet. Whenever I say, if you look at profit margins, they're just out of control right now.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
part of it is that here, you have to look at it from the standpoint of do government uh, uh, do government programs make a difference in what things cost? Sometimes, uh, but at the same time, if you can convince people in a situation like that politicians have this much sway over the economy, then if you are a multinational corporation, then that's whenever you start ripping strips off people because
yeah.
they look at it and go, okay, now nobody's talking about Shell or BP or
BP,
whatever
yeah,
making shit tons of money, which they are. I mean, you can look that up and say that there's record profits. But if you can say, okay, well, it's this person's fault that we're paying this, then they're going to most gladly take advantage of the scenario, right? So, I mean, is it, and it all comes from one thing. I mean, and the thing about it is that I think is funny is that nobody's taking it back to the original source of the problem. If Russia hadn't invaded Ukraine, we wouldn't be going through this to the extent that we are. But I don't hear anybody blaming Putin.
I've
I
been
mean, I don't know.
blaming Putin consistently
Well, I
since they
understand.
invaded the Ukraine.
Yeah, but
I've ended this podcast numerous times with the catchphrase Putin sucks.
well, I agree with you. And I think that that's it. But again, this is one of those things where I don't understand. It's a you know what I'm saying is that it's so easily people people love to blame the people they don't like. You know what I mean? And funnily enough, people hate Democrats. People hate Joe Biden worse than they hate Putin. I fr- I have friends on Facebook that still go that way. Yeah,
Hmm.
but that's the way that.
Yeah, so Flo, don't worry. The Remnant Fellowship Church, we will absolutely talk about that next week. And can I just say, the lady that ran that church, what happened to her couldn't have happened to a nicer person. Just
I guess
unpopular take, but there was a horrible situation. But that's from your neck of the woods, Nick. That was in
yeah.
Tennessee.
Which church is that one now?
The Remnant Fellowship Church. Well, it was a cult.
Well, can you
But,
give us just sort of a brief blow by?
it was started as a weight loss program by a woman named Gwen, who turned it into a statewide cult, an interstatewide cult. She made a lot of money, and then died in a plane crash.
Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, why can't there be divine? I mean, if there
That sounds like divine intervention to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, man.
Mhm.
I understand. That's what I'm saying is it would be so much more of a better world if that was consistent. You know, divine retribution should be consistent. I would like that. You know.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. So, Tom, what's been happening for you this week? You happy for now that Boris is finally out?
Definitely. I mean, I think he. I'm not sure what exactly was the tipping point, but when the ministers were just resigning in absolute droves, his position became completely untenable. So I'm glad he's gone. I've heard interesting things about the recent debate. Pardon me. The recent debate among the Tory leadership candidates. Some of them are meant to have been very underprepared, or they didn't manage to pull it off on the night. And it's and I will watch that. It's on Channel 4 catch up, all four. I'll watch that hopefully tonight, if not tomorrow, because just be very interesting to see how these people are like and how they present themselves. I've no idea really. So I'll watch that later. My own life, it's been oh blimey, it's been a very taxing week in terms of my job as a teacher. It's I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm I'm looking seriously at what to do next with my life in terms of sort of what sort of teacher I want to be. You know, do I want to be a mainstream class teacher? Do I want to specialize in special needs? Or, you know, do I see myself as everything's on the table at the moment? I'm just having very deep conversations with my wife, Hannah, about what the next couple of years are going to hold, because I think just the amount of effort and time I'm putting in. I mean, and not to be disrespectful to my school, my kids, the academy, or anyone, but it's just I don't know. It's just an unsustainable life for me at the moment, basically. So yeah, just having a big long look at everything.
Well, I think from that standpoint, Tom. I mean, this is the idea. This is the constant thing that I think people, even like you and I think we both have master's degrees in education. But I mean, but from that standpoint, it's just that it just ain't worth it anymore. I mean, it really gets to the point where it'll start tearing up your family, your marriage. Then at the same point in time, somebody's got to tell you that you're not doing it right. This is not right. This is not right.
Yeah,
And then you
it's
start to
it's
think to
hard to
yourself,
define, but
yeah,
so just quick, Kevin, it's hard to define. But there's just always this undercurrent. I think it comes from the government and Ofsted and their expectations. There's this
yeah,
constant undercurrent that your best will never truly be good enough, and it's a horrible feeling
right.
to constantly live with an undercurrent that runs its way through
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, but
our
at this,
entire profession.
right. But it's one of those professions where that's the only thing that you get. I mean, obviously, politicians don't hold themselves to that standard. I
Yeah,
mean, they don't have a problem not being good enough. But you
yeah,
know, they have. But again, this is the thing where you take a usually a very highly educated, sort of academic approach to things who are very underpaid, and then you can turn the thing on them and say the reason why we have sort of this idea of um, inclusiveness and everything like that is blame us because we believe that students should be treated with diversity. Diverse people should all be treated the same. Heaven forbid that we say that. But anyway, that's the way it goes.
You know? Richard, did we lose him?
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, maybe Tom's, he's mad that I said something. And he's probably like, that English, I mean, that
You
Irish
scared everybody
prick.
off.
What
Oh,
happened?
right. The cat's away, the mice may play. What we all gonna do, guys? We got to have a party while Richard's buggered off somewhere.
Right. Let's talk about how much of a cunt he is.
Right. We had
Ooh.
we had a debate about that the other day. My wife was asking me a question about that, and she was, about whether the C word was a bad word or not.
It depends on where you're at.
Well,
Absolutely. It depends on who's around you and what the context
If you
is.
call an American one, it doesn't matter what the context is.
Well,
If
no,
someone's
no.
throwing hands, unless like some
Is it because
Americans
you
are
call?
like me.
Is it because you call an American woman one? Is it the
That's
fact?
true.
I think because that was the thing. She said to me, "Well, have you ever called anybody that?" And I said, "Only men." And in Ireland, I called men that, but I've never called a woman that. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't in America either, because it's just. I mean, but the idea of saying use, like in Shaun of the Dead, where he says, "Any used cunts want to drink." You know what I mean? I totally, as a group of people, you could see that happening or whatever. But it's not like I'm calling you one specifically. Like,
No, with the right people, you can say it as a joke, just like, "Oh, you idiot!" You can
yeah, but
call,
I
you can
don't
call
think you
someone
could
that
do that.
for a
I
laugh.
mean, like you'd get in way too much trouble in America to even try to put the context in. I mean, you'd be a you would have dug your hole the minute the word comes out of your mouth, even though. And I will say this, and I do say it. It is one of the oldest words in the English language. That it's a Sanskrit word. That so
Is
it,
it in,
it it is actually one of the oldest known words in language. Google
is
it.
it is it in Chaucer or something?
I don't know about that.
Oh, I doubt it.
Yeah.
No, it's I've heard people say it in perfectly joking, friendly context. You can get away with it over here, but around the right people, around your mates, it's fine. My friend Jamie Marshall would call me it plenty of times. Yeah,
Yeah.
and but no, I know what you mean about it being different in America, because a friend of mine called Katie, who lives in I think it's Iowa. Yeah, she I've dropped it in conversation every once in a while, and she's like, "Whoa, love how you use that so casually." I do as well, but not many people do. So, oh yeah, I get what you mean, Kevin.
Yeah, well, it was, and it came up because somebody had said to me, somebody had said, well, this lady was married to a Canadian man, and this Canadian man had used that reference to call his ex-wife one, and I was like, no, that ain't good. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
That's not one of those things where you could just say, I said, is it singular ex-wife? Telling that to her is not acceptable under any situation, And she would say, "Well, don't European people do that sometimes, in Britain and that?" And I said, "Yeah, but I don't think that's what was happening there anyway."
Mm.
in the movie Bridesmaids, Kristen Wiig, or Kirsten Wiig, I'm not sure how her name's pronounced. She is working in a jewelry store, and she loses a rag with one of the customers, like a sort of 18, 20-year-old girl, and she calls her that. She drops the C-bomb on her and loses her job for it. But I thought that was quite forward for a mainstream American comedy.
Right. Well, I mean, I think, I mean, that's just one of those things. I think I was watching a program on television today, and it was somebody with Matt Berry in it. The guy from Toast and that. And
Gross.
he uses the C word in this program, and I was just like, it sort of just came by, and I was just like, can you imagine? And it was a show that I think was on BBC. So the very fact that you could say that after the Watershed Hour on BBC just blew me away. You know what I mean? Because like, but seriously, I don't. It just doesn't strike me as possible as a possibility on television. to hear. But anyway, you know, that's
I remember in yeah, do you remember the guys? Do you know the TV show Bottom? Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson.
oh
May
yeah,
he
yeah.
rest in peace.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Bottom. I had a live show, and pretty early on,
Oh, did you see them live?
I didn't see them myself, but I've got sort of VHS.
I saw their 4th tour live.
Oh yeah,
That was great.
was the third one. The first one was pretty good. The third was Hooligans Island.
Hooligans Island was the best one by far.
That is so
I saw Weapons Grade Y French, which was the 4th one.
right.
Wasn't as good as Hooligans Island.
That was.
I had to go all the way to Birmingham to the NEC Centre, but worth it.
But it's great. It must have been great to have just seen them. I mean, yeah, Adrian Edmondson did. Eddie. That's it. When his character Eddie at the start of one of them, he goes. He just says really loudly, "Can we say cunt?" And Richie goes, "Definitely not, Eddie." He just goes, "Cunt." And they just make a big joke out of it. That was
He was in EastEnders recently.
Yeah. He did. He's married to Jennifer Saunders, and their daughter is Beatty Edmondson. She was in a show, a quite small, low budget, but incredibly funny show called Josh Widdicombe, just doing this thing, and Beatty Edmondson was one of the characters in it, and that was I thought was a really underappreciated, really funny sitcom.
I think you got it wrong though, Richard. It was Camilla and Prince Charles that were on EastEnders.
They were on EastEnders. It was a low point for the show, but Adrian Edmondson was also on it, and as I watched it, I couldn't help but think that the wrong one died.
Well,
savage and heartless as ever.
I mean,
all Richard Allen, all the compassion of an SS execution squad.
So Tom was just discussing the etymology of the word cunt, the woes of being a teacher, and of course the completely justified sacking, / resignation of Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson, of course, got in trouble this week for using his work phone to make a personal call. He was calling IKEA because he desperately needed a new cabinet. But
has he actually left the 10 Downing Street yet?
No, of course not. He's just playing for time. He honestly thinks he's going to get away with it.
So is at this point in time, is he?
He's still the Prime Minister as we speak. He's
executing squatters' rights at this point in time.
He's played for time. He's played for time. He said October, and when October comes, there'll be another excuse.
But you see what I'm saying, though. I mean,
yeah,
it's
going to go down in history as the only Prime Minister worse than Thatcher.
God, speaking of leaders that won't go or wouldn't go, Niki, I don't know how much you're following the sort of the trial of Donald Trump. I don't know exactly what it is, but they're hearing about like his role in the what was it? Storming of the
thing,
the storming of the Senate and things like that. But it's like it seems crazy. I mean, I heard first-person account of whilst that was happening, he was inside a taxi. He's inside the Beast or whatever it was, the official presidential vehicle, and he's saying, or he's in an official presidential limousine or something like that, and he's saying, "Take me to Capitol Hill, take me to Capitol Hill," and they're like, "We're not going to Capitol Hill, sir. We're going to the White House." And he was like trying to take over the cab to get there. I mean, and if that's true, and there's no reason to disbelieve it, then legit, there is a massive case that Trump was literally trying to overturn the Constitution, declare a state of emergency, and appoint himself dictator of the United States. I mean, is that really? Did he honestly believe that could happen?
Yeah, he did. He's a crazy narcissist. Of
He
course he
might.
believed he could do that.
Well, yeah,
God.
but the thing about it is who's? I mean, like at this point in time, again, it's the idea of what I find interesting about the whole thing, Tom, being somebody that was living in America at the time was is now, obviously, and I'll say it before and I'll say it again. We deal with the supernatural. We deal with these different types of things where they're out of the ordinary. These folks that we deal with are conspiracy theorists. To the T. You know what I mean? Um, I knew what was going to happen on January 6th before January 6th. I knew it all. I knew it all. And I had told people that were actually still on, big people who were on TV with them, Bigfoot shows that this was all going to happen, that they should stay out of Washington D.C. and they just shouldn't become involved with it after all that. I mean, I've got all the text and everything like that. So the thing that I find interesting about it is these are the same people now who days afterwards were like, oh well, it wasn't a big deal. These people were just tourists and stuff. It's like bull crap. I knew what was going to happen. I knew it. Everybody knows it. But at that point in time, it's just like, oh, well, I'm just going to rehabilitate myself. No, but at the same time, they still can't stop themselves from believing this bullcrap. I don't know what's wrong with these people, to be honest with you, whether they have no memory of the fact that they said it or they are so up their own ass that they can't
Yeah.
admit that they were that functionally wrong. You know what I mean? And all these same people. I mean, and I mean, you don't have to look very far to find some of these folks are still saying shit about the whole thing. But I mean, at a certain point in time, you got to realize, okay, nobody has any proof that any of this happened. Everybody in the Republican White House said there was no proof that any of this happened,
Right.
and 70% of Republicans who are registered to vote still believe it happened. Now, how's that? How's that? You know what I mean? How do you get to the point where it's 2.5 years after, or 1.5 years after, and you still believe that 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 the election was taken over? I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
Mm.
Especially whenever they said that it was at one point in time it was the MI5 helping them out of the British embassy in Italy, and which I know didn't happen because I am a member of MI5 and it didn't happen.
That's right.
Yeah,
And as someone who's part of the CIA,
yeah,
yeah, it didn't
exactly,
happen.
exactly. We all know.
We
all
do.
know. So I don't know what's going to happen till. I mean, you can look at it this way. It's like you have to look at it from the two different standpoints. I mean, is he such a genius that he thought that he could play it off, or is he so stupid that is he a pawn or the puppet master? I think
Well,
at that
Trump.
point in time, that's the only thing you have to figure out at this point in time. It might not be that he's guilty because he's so idiotically stupid.
That's a good point. I think he is that much of an egomaniac that, yeah, he genuinely made a play to take over the country.
I think I agree with you, Richard. I think his narcissism is so extreme and so total. I mean, he literally has a god complex. And he would have, if he believes, if he decides that something is real, then it is in his mind.
Right.
What
Yeah.
and therefore, if he decides that what is best for America is, the election had to be fraudulent because in his mind it is a physical impossibility, that is a conceptual impossibility that he could actually be voted out and lose an election, because in his mind that is does not compute, malfunction. He then says, well, I've been robbed, and the best justice has not been given to the people that voted for it, and therefore we will take power by any means necessary. And in his mind, I honestly think he is that conceited and that arrogant and that delusional.
Right, but that being said, about all that, there is absolutely nothing. I mean, he still again could reasonably, from a lot of people's standpoints, run for president again. There's nothing stopping him from doing it at this point in time, and there's nothing stopping him from winning and becoming the president again. So, again, from that standpoint, you know, it could happen. And so at that point in time, it's like you have to take everything in you know, you have to take everything in the way that it goes. So that being said, you know, he may be our president in 3 years. It's the way that goes. And if he is, then we have to.
I don't think anyone's gonna. I think that only the reason that Joe Biden was elected was because he wasn't Trump.
Wow.
And 100%.
I believe that
if Trump runs again, he'll just force the same voter turnout.
Well, I believe that that's right. But at the same time, if you are a highly transactional person and you believe that ultimately speaking, that the biggest thing that Donald Trump did was to put these folks onto the Supreme Court, and then you've gotten the results that you've wanted there, that you know, at the same point in time, you'd say to yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth it having him? I mean, because I think that there's better choices. You know what I mean? Even from the standpoint of in the Republican Party, there's better choices than Trump. I've always said that. You know what I mean? I said that back then. I say it now. But you know, that people might say to themselves, "I've gotten what I've wanted," which is, and nobody would have ever guessed that Roe versus Wade would have been overturned. You know,
can I just summarize this? So,
Yeah.
Trump is an egomaniacal moron, which segues perfectly into Joel Guy Jr.
Yeah,
that does segue perfectly.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah. No. So it's like you're a good girl. Good
right,
girl.
halfway through the show, we finally get to the point. Let's go.
Yeah, but that's the way we always do it, Tom.
Yeah, that is how we always do it. But I thought it was creeping up.
I know.
I'm just mucking about.
That was a good segue. You know, Niki deserves kudos for that.
Thank you.
Da, da, da.
Everybody tell her what a good girl she is.
I hate you guys so much.
Niki is Niki, but is that patronizing though?
Depends how we say it.
All right.
Yes. Very patronizing.
Very smoothly done, Trousers. Respect.
Thank you, Sturt.
Way to go.
Okay. So, like, I was aware of this case for a long time. I've watched, but my favorite YouTube true crime channel currently, which is Dreading, did a version of the Joel Guy Jr. case, which brought it to the forefront of my mind. And because Niki and me were hanging out earlier in the week, I forced her to watch it at gunpoint. So this is, you know, how we do as friends. So she watched this show and she could not believe that I was comparing her to this criminal Pastor. She couldn't see it. And I was like, well, Niki, he reminds me of you for two reasons. One, he intricately plans everything he's doing down to the last detail. And two, he doesn't actually do it. He gets lazy and procrastinates it.
Listen, so it was touche. So, but there's some, before we get into this, I would like to counter and say that 100% he did it so detailed. He essentially had a step-by-step to-do list. And as an adult human being who ADHD medications don't really vibe well with, that is how I live my life. Like if I have 20 things on a to-do list, they're like step by step. I cross them off, and whenever there's too many things crossed off and it makes the page look messy, I have to rewrite what's left on another piece of paper. Anyway, that's my life. But um the second one, I would have never killed my parents because that's where my procrastination lies. When I actually start something, I finish it. But
Of
it's
course, you would
getting me
kill
to
your
start
parents.
it.
You
It's
just
getting me
inherit
to
and more
start,
debt.
right?
But what okay, okay, well, so should we refer, so are we saying, because I think probably all four candidates, well, not all four, all four participants on this panel are on some level of the spectrum of ADHD. So, should we call this person the ADHD bandit? Or the
No.
AD? No, you don't
No,
think
no,
that's what
this
the
guy,
problem
no,
was?
this guy has a face. He was destined to be a felon.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
Murder
either
or
nonce
yeah,
or
more
serial
murder
killer.
or rape or
No, nonce or serial killer.
no, no,
Those were his
no.
only options in life.
No, I could see him
He
being a
could never
pedo.
be a
He
rape.
could be a pedo though.
Yeah, nonce. That's what
But
nonce
his
is.
face, okay, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Can you speak Americanish? Not
It
everybody is
means something.
English.
It means something in prison, but I've forgotten what it means. No, I've forgotten what it means.
Okay, whatever. So he
well,
his
a
face was
nonce?
made
Yeah,
to be in a mugshot. He just looks off.
he looks really. Anyway, so I'll give you a brief synopsis of what this guy did. This guy was an entitled, spoilt little boy whose parents, especially his mother, doted on. She sent him her paycheck every month, well into his late 20s, and then she decided she was going to retire. She had enough savings. Her husband had enough savings. They decided to call it quits. So that meant this dude wasn't going to get any money anymore off her. So instead of going, okay, now it's time to buck up and get my life together, he was in college, by the way. She'd paid for his entire college. He decided to drive down to where they lived in Louisiana and brutally kill his father and mother for inheritance, for insurance, and to get all their money, which is the logical solution in that situation, I guess. I mean, I've never really been at that stage where I think killing my parents for the money is a good idea, you know. But some people just go there. Some people just jump to that, and I'm not going to judge anyone. We don't judge on this show.
Why would
But
why
Oh
would you
yeah, in
judge
some
anybody
cases
for
it's perfectly
killing their
acceptable.
parents? It's a
so
logical conclusion.
yeah, exactly. Now I'm going to paraphrase Blackadder here because this is the only time I'm ever going to be able to use this line in real life. But the criminal's vanity always causes them to make one small but fatal flaw in their plan. Joel Guy Jr.'s was to leave an intricate, planned out, handwritten autobiography of how he planned to do the crime, the motive for doing the crime, and he left it at the crime scene.
Well, as you do.
The dude literally wrote out his entire plan in a notebook and he left it at the house. Now, Dreading is a lot more organised than we are, obviously, and they did a much better version. The link to that show is in the description. Please give them a like and a subscribe because their channel is awesome and the Joel Guy Jr. show is particularly good. But yeah, that's what this guy did. He decided to kill his parents and he left a handwritten murder confession / plan / motive. Like, this thing was so detailed, it was like an autobiography. All it was missing was a lame picture of him holding his chin in black and white and printed out and put in the dust cover. That's how like intricate this plan was. And he left it at the crime scene.
Yep, because he decided he didn't want to clean up the rest of the mess he made. He would just do it later.
Okay, do it. He procrastinated. He had this intricate plan and he procrastinated it.
He procrastinated. It wasn't like just a day or two. He procrastinated so long that the cops had already discovered the bodies and crap before he even thought to go back. Like, he didn't even know that they had discovered the bodies. It had been days. It wasn't like, I'm going to go home and like hang out for a little bit and then come back tomorrow. Nah, days.
So let me ask you a question. Was this a home on property then, or was
Yeah.
this an apartment or
No, it was a
Yeah.
property. It was a house.
Yeah.
so you could say, okay, so nobody particularly would have smelled the people after a couple of days,
Well, he had the bodies in what was it? A vat of chemical,
Giant tubs. Yeah, in a vat of
sodium
chemicals.
hydroxide,
Oh,
sulfuric hydroxide.
and this
Oh,
guy,
God.
let's top it off. This guy set the temperature as high as it would go and the heat as high as it would go in the house because he thought it would melt off the fingerprint.
what?
Yeah,
he
I wish
tried he tried to melt fingerprints.
Right, but using chemicals necessarily, it wasn't.
No.
No. Just turning up the
What's
air
the heat?
conditioning
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
or the
So it was
heat.
90 degrees in the house.
So
And he
okay.
thinks that is going to melt off the fingerprints left anywhere.
Oh.
I'm not a forensic CSI guy, but even I know that fingerprints can survive house fires. So
Oh, okay. So so that wasn't gonna. Okay, I get you. It's gonna leave. It's gonna delete. He thought that the heat would deteriorate his fingerprints, not
Yes.
the parents, fingerprints.
here's
Yes,
the
but
thing,
as
though.
someone who used to live in Florida, I can tell you, or even here this summer, it's been 102 degrees. I still have my fingerprints.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of a heat wave in England, and my hands have yet to melt off. So, and that's not even the dumbest thing. The dumbest thing is he really had no need to remove all of his fingerprints from the house because it wasn't suspicious for his fingerprints to be in the house.
Right.
He was literally there at Thanksgiving.
Right.
So his fingerprints would be in the house.
Well, I think that people don't think of the fact that the absence of evidence is evidence in some cases, right? The very fact that you don't have any fingerprints in the house, like say, for example, you went around, I killed my wife, and then I got rid of every fingerprint of mine in the house. That's suspicious in itself. They'd say, well, why isn't there any fingerprints of you in the house? You see what I'm saying? I mean, the fact that no, that may not be able to prove that you were there or you did it or whatever. But I mean, from that standpoint, that the fact that there are no fingerprints of you would be a damaging thing. And then the fact that they're, but again, it sounds like to me, where is he getting this? I mean, what's always funny to me is that sometimes people will they'll look up on the internet and they'll say, okay, how to do this, how to do that, and that's how people seem to get caught, is because they make errors based on some of the indications of how to do a crime from the internet and everything like that. So I mean, but it is interesting to try to figure out how some of these ideas, they come to some of these ideas. You know what I mean? I don't know. Oh, is that him?
That's him. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It's maybe some of these things I put them down to the law of human averages. There's if you have enough people, and it seems like 7 or 8 billion people, or however big our population has expanded to now, then there'll be some that will, do the weirdest things. Like there was a guy in Africa, I think it was could have been anywhere, but he went to a petrol station, put a pump to his mouth, drank a substantial amount of petroleum, went up to the counter, paid for it, and walked off. I mean, it takes all sorts. And when you've got 8 billion people in the world, then every once in a while there's going to be, I mean, you only have to look at sexual fetishes to say, well, there's some stuff where whatever floats your boat.
Okay. We don't kink shame.
No, we're definitely not. I have no intention of going into specifics, but that's just one obvious field where human curiosity knows no limits, shall we say?
No kink shame, but no kink same. That's my motto.
Yeah, but sometimes alcoholics drink gasoline, don't they, to try to get drunk? I mean, I don't know. I thought they did.
In World War II, the Russian army going into Germany and Berlin, they drank everything. They drank like engine coolant and things like that. They died doing this stuff.
Right. It's funnily enough. Being from Ireland, as you know, I've never come across alcoholics. Yeah, okay. That didn't land very well, but anyway. But I do know that sometimes people will drink gasoline and and then they drink milk to try to coat their stomach or something. It's pretty disgusting.
Gordon Bennett.
Yeah.
But yes, as this picture clearly demonstrates, this dude had very little choice in what to do with his life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a nonce or a serial killer. Sorry, but not sorry, but that's what he looks like. So yeah, he decides to kill his parents. He leaves an intricate, detailed plan at the crime scene. He fails to dispose of the bodies, fails to clean up after himself, just basically fails at everything, and then has the nerve to plead not guilty when it comes to his trial.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he could have said that I'm so crazy that I would have written it out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously that's not high in insanity.
No, he didn't plead insanity. He just said not guilty.
Yeah.
Insanity, I would say, yeah, okay, absolutely, I can get behind that. You're either insane or really stupid. So
yeah. But I guess being insane, I mean, the insanity plea is pretty hard to pull off, I think, in America.
It bloody should be. Otherwise you get people killing people and then pleading insanity. It absolutely should be hard to prove insanity.
Yeah. I sent you that picture there, Richard, of
Mel Smith.
The comedian Mel Smith, who that guy reminded me of.
Yeah, but Mel Smith was funny.
Yeah, I know, he was funny.
Joel Guy Jr. is also funny, but for different reasons. For
different reasons, yeah. But I mean, I do find it interesting that that he had. So has he tried to, write a? So when did this happen? When was this crime? When did the murder happen?
The murder. Oh shit! It was very recently.
July 1st, I think. Was it 2020, 2019?
November 26th, November 2016.
Of 2020.
Oh, I was thinking of the other guy.
Oh, 2016. Oh, okay.
2016, yeah, it was Thanksgiving, wasn't it? So, yeah.
It was. I'm sorry. I was thinking 4th of July was Charles Henderson or whatever his name is.
Chandler Henderson was
the 4th of July. Yeah.
That's the first stupidest criminal I've ever heard of, and we will cover him in due time. But
so
I thought the first one was going to be who's that guy we follow? The guy whose mental health is his particular variety is that he goes into police stations and is the complete arsehole and the biggest arsehole possible.
Oh, Glenn Serio.
Yeah, I thought he would have been your first.
No. He's not really a proper criminal. He's just an attention seeker. and has completely vanished from all social media. So
Yeah, I find that very odd that he had, but maybe from that standpoint, that he's receiving help for a mental illness. I mean, seems to me like that I don't know, but I mean, it seems to me like maybe if he had been admitted to a location to sort of even out his mental incapacities or whatever, that maybe that's one of the reasons why he sort of did disappear. But because
no,
otherwise,
he moved out of Washington to a different state. He didn't want people knowing what state he was living in, and he got a job, so that's why he's gone dark.
no, really,
Yeah.
and his name is so his actual did he change his name? Then he must have because
No, his name's still Glenn Serio. It's just yeah, no one's tried finding him.
uh, I think we should. I mean, it seems to me like we
Well,
should
you
and
live
stand.
close by. Go look
No,
for
well,
him.
I know. Well, if we could find him and then stand outside his house, for example, or every time he got out of the car, and sort of just tape him, just incessantly videotape him while he was doing things, that would be
Mm.
awesome. Maybe that's a I take it back. I take it back just because I mean doing the asshole thing that they did to them to teach people a lesson anymore is probably not the thing to do anymore because I
No,
think
it makes them think they're the victim, and
well yeah oh well but believe me they already think they're the victim
yeah, I know, but it adds to their delusions. The
right
best thing to do with people like that is just get them help, either police intervention or mental health intervention, and that seems to be, he had a lot of cases before various Washington judges. He definitely went to jail for at least 5 days. So yeah, and the whole point of exposing people like that was to make them stop, and he stopped. So move on.
right well
There's not a lot of money in First Amendment auditing anymore. Anyway, YouTube's pulled the rug out for stuff like that.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And even conspiracy theories. I miss the days I could just go on there and watch a good conspiracy theory.
You're in
Can't.
the
YouTube got rid of them.
yeah, and true crime gets it as well.
Yep.
Which is really
yeah
annoying for me. They have to rely on Patreon and stuff.
right
It's another apocalypse for YouTube. Back in the day, you could do whatever you wanted on YouTube and get paid. These days, it's so hard.
Yeah. There's so many things that you can and
Mhm.
cannot say, and
well it
we're
was
never going to be
interesting
monetized. I'm just
yeah
saying.
I used to watch the Revolution Radio. The Tom was talking about the six hearings this week, and the guy that was one of the guys that were on the panel being asked the questions. I used to watch that show on YouTube. You see, but and then you make the argument that when you take that stuff down from public forums, then you force these folks to go underground. You know what I mean? But it seems like even though it was all out in plain sight, what was all going to happen all the time. I mean, as
Hmm.
far as like the Bundy Ranch thing and the several mines in Wyoming and the Bundy overtaking of the Malheur Wildlife Federation. I mean, wildlife. Sanctuary in Oregon. I mean, like you could have found out all that out beforehand. Apparently, nobody decided to follow it. I don't know. I mean, it just seems to me like it does seem very interesting to me that was all. It's been all out there for a very long time, and I don't know who doesn't. Maybe there was the big thing was is that the FBI can't watch people's think because unless they're domestic terrorism terrorist or defined as domestic terrorists, you can't uh, watch their stuff to gain gain insight into gather intelligence on it. I find that to be crazily weird. But anyway, that's fine. But anyway,
That seems like a natural stopping point. Yeah, what a 2K. Good point so far. That was a big ball of nothing. I was genuinely scared of that. But yeah, nothing happened. It was,
well, I think it was interesting. My brother worked at Microsoft at the time of Y2K, and he like literally had he bought a generator for his house, and he bought all this food that he'd stockpiled in his house, and so that was the scary part. Was it like I'm like, okay, this guy's snatched into it. We're all going down. You know what I mean? Like that was the way it was, and then whenever nothing happened. Then after the fact,
I was studying IT at the time.
yeah,
I was in college for that, and it was a real possibility if they couldn't get it patched in time that it might cause some problems. It was never going to be the apocalypse, or planes weren't going to fall out of the sky or anything, but it could have actually caused some problems. But of course, they got it patched in time.
right. But I guess the question with it is, and this is the part that we always don't know is how much of a disruption of life are people willing to take before they just are that they're not willing to be sort of quote unquote ruled anymore. You know what I mean?
3 meals.
Well, that's what they say, but I don't know if that's actually true because it does seem to me like from the standpoint of all that. I mean, people are really, it is really hard to seem to like get people away from the whole idea of somewhat, the system functioning. I mean, it does seem at the one time that the system is so very strange that it lasts for a while, or that it holds. But it does seem weird. But I guess we're all lucky. We're really lucky at the sometimes.
So far.
Well,
that's what
yeah.
I tell people when they ask me how I am. I always say I'm immortal so far.
Well, it always works.
I plan on living forever. So far, so good.
Yeah, it's worked so far until it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a prophetic line. It's worked so far, but we're not out yet. That was from Star Trek. Bones said that.
Which Bones? Carl Urban or the original one?
No, it was in the original Star Trek. If you go back and listen to the Information Society song, what was that song? I don't know. Yeah.
Star Trekking?
No.
Across the universe, boldly going forward because we come from reverse.
Still got my 7-inch single of that.
Yeah. You have the Doctor Who. You have Doctor Who in the TARDIS. Doctor Who. Remember that one? Doctor Who.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I remember. I don't own that one, but I remember it well.
That was actually, it was called Doctor Who and the TARDIS, I think was the name of the band. But it was really the KLF.
Yeah.
But
well, yeah. That will wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many, where we are going to discuss the Remnant Fellowship Church, because SoFlo wants us to, and SoFlo is a long-serving fan of this show. So it's good night from me, and it's good night from them. Good night.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Putin and disco suck.